Welcome to Martial Arts Today, a program dedicated to the ancient fighting arts of the Orient, designed to give you insights into the history, philosophy, styles, and celebrities of the martial arts. And now, your host, Joe Rebelo. Hi, this is Joe Rebelo for Martial Arts Today. Today we're here at Woonsocket Fitness and Self-Defense for a series of seminars being held by Mr. Jeff Speakman, star of The Perfect Weapon and Street Night. The seminars are going to encompass the art of Ed Parker's American Kenpo karate. We'll be going over, in our interview with Jeff, different aspects about Kempo, how he started in the martial arts, and about his fledgling movie career. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with Jeff Speakman. Hi, this is Joe Rebelo for Martial Arts Today, and we're proud to have a very special guest, Mr. Jeff Speakman, star of The Perfect Weapon and Street Night. How are you doing today, Jeff?
Good. How are you?
Doing very well, thank you. First question, we want to ask you a little questions about your beginnings in the martial arts, your fledgling movie career, and the future of Kempo. Now, my first question is, how did you start up in the martial arts?
Well, I started in a little town in Joplin, Missouri, which is where I went to college. I happened to find a guy by the name of Lou Angel, who's a 10th degree master in Japanese Goju-Ryu. And I always just wanted to study. You know, I was always real curious. I used to like the old television series Kung Fu with David Carradine. You know, back then I thought that was good. So I found Lou Angel and got started. Then I graduated from school, and Mr. Angel said, if you want to make martial arts your life, move to California and study Kempo from Ed Parker, because he's the best. And that's really unusual to have a guy who's a 10th in a militaristic, you know, very regimented style like Goju-Ryu, to say go to anyone else, including, I mean, imagine a non-traditional style like Kempo, like Ed Parker's Kempo. So it was just really threw me. So I did. I just moved to California, sold my car to pay for the U-Haul, and I became a karate bum and moved to California to study Kempo. Reading a recent article about how you had actually lived in Mr. Parker's home for a short time when you first moved to California. Yeah, he took care of me when I came out there. I went out with a letter of introduction from Lou Angel. See, Angel lived with Mr. Parker for 2 weeks while this is a long time ago in the early 60s. And then they hadn't talked for like 9-10 years. So first time I saw Mr. Parker, I walked up to him and I bowed to him and I handed him this letter of introduction, and he read it and went, oh my God, Lou Angel. You know, imagine somebody who was a dear friend who lived in your home, and then you don't hear from him for a while, and then up walks this guy with this letter, you know. So he was really excited about connecting with Mr. Angel again, because they were close friends for all those years. So he sent me to the West LA dojo, and I started to study there. And then I studied there for a little over 2 years before I took my first acting lesson. And then I studied acting for 6 years before I did The Perfect Weapon.
Now, what made you get into acting?
Actually, there was someone who came to the dojo, had someone else, you know, like the child was studying at the dojo and saw me teaching like group classes, and said, you know, you really should take this that you do and study acting and combine the two and go for it, because it's an absolute winner. So I resisted, and then finally they even set me up with the right acting school to go to, because there's so many of them out there. There's so many rip-offs, like a lot like the martial arts in this country.
Exactly.
And so when you have the direction of actually having someone that you know that you go and introduce to, it really helps. And so I went and started, and as soon as I took my acting lessons, I knew that this is what I should be doing. And then Mr. Parker asked me to join him in his house with 3 other people, Brian Hawkins, Barbara Hale, and Pat Salantric. So I went there once a week for 4 years, the last 4 years of his life. And then we saw him in the dojo every week as well. So I got really close to him, and so we just kind of, our energies blended, and off we went.
Now, we talked before about, you mentioned about The Perfect Weapon. How did that all come about? Would you getting the role in The Perfect Weapon? And
well, the guy who wrote the movie Kickboxer, which is one of Van Damme's movies, was a good friend of mine. I studied acting with for many years. His name is Glenn Bruce, and he was, of course, involved with Kickboxer while this producer, Mark DeSalle, was getting ready to do it. So he brought me in to read for it, but I have very little kickboxing knowledge or experience, so that's really not my forte. So Dennis Alexio, who's also a friend of mine, he of course got the role. Right. But DeSalle remembered me, so I continued to study acting. Like a year later, DeSalle called me out of the blue and said, "Have you still been studying?" And You know, because Glenn Bruce kept telling Mark DeSalle, you've got to see this Kempo stuff. You've got to see Kempo. This is the way of the future. And so finally, he went and picked up DeSalle at his home and brought him to the studio to watch one of the Thursday night black belt classes. And after that, then that was it. It just took off.
Now, we talked before, I remember one particular comment I heard that during one of your auditions was one person made a comment of how you could take a system that was so, quote, lethal, unquote, and put it in the context that you have. How do you feel about Kempo being referred to as a, quote, lethal system?
Oh, gosh, I think it's probably correct. I think it's probably accurate. But it's such a small part of the art. You know, that aspect is such a small aspect of it. But that's okay. I mean, that's what people are really interested in, certainly in movies. You know, that maybe not the people that I teach, or not the people that come to study martial arts. They're probably more involved in a greater depth in the art and personal growth and a variety of other things that come along with the martial arts. But that's okay. I feel good about that.
Now, again, you talked before about your Goju, and which I really felt you really understated, because I'm not mistaken, you're a 6th degree black belt in
Right.
Japanese Goju, as well as a 4th degree in at Parker's Kenpo. How do you feel as far as a comparison, as far as contrast of the style? It must have been a big change for you.
It was an enormous change. It was a huge change. Something that took a lot of concentration, a lot of effort to make that transition. But what I focused on was taking the strengths of Goju and trying to incorporate them into the fluidity and the science of Ed Parker's Kempo. Because as I'm sure you know, with all the Kempo experience you have throughout the country, the big problem in Kempo is there's too many people that just want to learn the techniques and just go real fast, and so make it look like you know what you're doing when you really don't. So in Goju, for example, the strength is in the single dot focus and the individual movement. So if you could combine that kind of mindset on individual power, combine it with the sequential flow that we have in Kempo, now you're moving fast, but you also have power. And those two things combined really what makes great Kempo.
Excellent. Now, also we have to talk, of course, about your latest film that's out right now on video, Street Night. I noticed there was a large emphasis on a positive approach against gang violence. And how were you approached with the script? And
well, it was a concept of the producer, but which is part of my contract, that I interact a great deal with the storyline, which I was really in favor of. And one of the reasons I was in favor of it, and I actually designed a couple of the scenes, the non-fighting scenes. Of course, I took care of all the action scenes, but a couple of scenes in there because I was so upset with the irresponsibility of filmmakers today, because all they do is portray the dark side. Happens to be real life, okay, that I'll give you. That's what real life in downtown LA, and I'm sure in New York and Chicago and Detroit and all those cities that are overrun by gangs. But the problem is if you just portray the juice or the power or whatever it is that people are getting, and that's in fact the truth, that's what they're seeking for, but if that's the end result of all your energy, then we're not saying anything positive. We're not trying to change anything in the movie business. We're just doing movies to make money, to buy another house, to do another movie, to buy another house. And that's really not what's supposed to happen. So there are so many films like Juice, and like there was one scene in Grand Canyon, and several of the other King in New York City, and there were so many films that came out that were so dark, real, but dark, with no positive. I mean, if you watch that film, it's bleak, and at the end you go, we're doomed, you know. I wanted to create some kind of a positive thing.
It's very good that you mention that, because in that happening, what occurs so many times, it becomes stereotypical.
Yes,
It becomes a classic stereotype. This is the that pigeonhole that the gangs are put into, etc., with no hope and no chance to excel. And that's what I really felt. Especially, I noticed that before at the beginning of the ending credits, again, a little message about or truth to gang violence.
Right. Yeah, that was a lot of the emphasis that we wanted to bring in. But that's how I want all my movies to reflect that kind of an idea of, because there's too many guys in my field that are doing not just martial art movies, but other movies too. You know, we talked about some of the other gang movies that are real dark, but also the other guys doing martial art movies. They're so violent, they're so overwhelmingly violent, they're just so unrealistic, and they just paint the guy to be some untouchable hero. And that's all they care about. You don't see the other two box office martial arts guys out teaching seminars all the time, or I'm on the mat every week teaching, because this is what I do, this is what I like to do. You don't see those guys really trying to change and bring a positive aspect into the martial art world.
That's what I felt, what I really felt about the Perfect Weapon especially was the fact that you portray a hero that, first of all, frowns on profanity, where so many of the quote box office action heroes are every third word's got to be a profanity, and also giving a very positive role model and a very positive image to the average viewer, especially children, because even though these are quote R-rated films, a large percentage of people watching these films are children and teenagers.
Yes.
And being that positive role model is so important. Now, through doing your seminars, et cetera, throughout the United States, et cetera, how do you feel now with the passing of Mr. Parker, that what are your goals to perpetuate Ed Parker's system in Kempo in general?
And foremost, obviously, through movies, because that's going to be how I can touch so many people. And that, in turn, raises, of course, my recognition. So when I come to places like here at Woonsocket or wherever I go to teach seminars, I can get a lot of people to come in that normally wouldn't come in to a Kenpo studio. And then hopefully through that interchange and through that interaction, they can see where I'm coming from, which is more of a martial artist than a karate guy. I'm trying to help everybody not only learn more about the art, but learn more about what it's like to be a real martial artist, so we can all help each other grow and have a better life, instead of I'm better and you're worse, and we have this inverse relationship. So through the movies start, and then through the teachings, and then thirdly through the articles and the magazines and the books that I'm going to be writing. The two articles out in Karate Kung Fu Illustrated Black Belt, those really say the way I feel. And so I think that's going to have a big impact as well.
Fantastic. Now, next question I have is, again, being a martial artist and being a movie star, some people feel like they're separate entities, that they're separate directions. How do you control your ability to not become the, quote, matinee idol? As, in other words, so many of the action stars get caught up in the stigma of things like accents like sex sells, you've got to do this, you've got to do that in your movies in order to bring more people in, etc. How do you feel that you yourself as an actor can keep, and as a martial artist can keep away from that stigma?
Well, first I took 6 years to study acting before I did Perfect Weapon, because I didn't want to be another bonehead martial artist trying to act. We've got plenty of those. So I'm hoping to break out, because if I can have a combination of a trained actor and a skilled martial artist combined, two of those things, I can get much better scripts. I can get much better co-stars under me. And so I think that's how I'm going to try to rise above those kind of things, staying away from straight exploitation and try to have good movies with a great story, but you still have to have the entertaining factor. There's that difficult kind of a balance.
Right.
And if you mix with the wrong people, then they only want to exploit you. They only want to use your sexuality or your physical prowess or whatever and sell the tickets, and that's all. They don't really care about the storyline.
Right.
But fortunately now I'm really associated with some very good producers who really do care about the content of the movie. So I hope through the quality of the films that I'm going to be taking out, I think I can rise above that.
Well, last question is, now with the immediate future, what's the future hold for Jeff Speakman?
Let's see, we're doing our third movie now. I've got, this movie is back at Paramount. After I'm completed with this one, which is at the moment called Backlash, when it's done, then I have 2 more on contract there, and just last week I signed another 3-picture deal with a new producer, a really wonderful producer who's very, very successful. And so I'm excited about that, because now I'm going to be stepping up into the 8 pictures, kind of paid my dues, as it were. So this movie that I'm doing right now will be out next March through Paramount, and it's really a good film. We have a lot of money now, and we have some great co-stars, and the storyline is very similar to Patriot Games. Do you remember that film? It was a great film, wasn't it? Yeah, great film. And so we've got a wonderful director and the best casting director, and now we're getting the A players. The people that really make an A movie are the ones behind the camera, not just in front of the camera. So we've got great people working with us, so I'm really excited about it.
I want to ask one more question, because I feel it's so important, because again, as a Kenpo stylist, we were talking before a little bit about this whole episode is really based on what is Kenpo, what was Ed Parker trying to convey, what Kenpo's all about. And I really wanted to do this interview with you. And the last question I would have is, what is Kenpo to you? What is Kenpo?
I think to me, Kempo is the greatest opportunity for personal growth. It's an opportunity for you to keep your ego in check and for you to really get good at an art and really begin to explore it, really internalize this art and then feel that. And then maybe you can take those feelings of discipline and focus and respect and concentration and now let that in concept affect other areas of your life, your business relationships, your personal, your marriage, your personal relationships. And then the quality of your life raises because of the kind of instruction that you've been receiving. And that to me is what Kempo's all about. That's what it's about. It's not about who you can beat up. It's not about how many stripes are on your belt. I already have heard a lot of people talk bad stuff about me here and there, and that's fine. I don't really care. It doesn't bother me at all. I want to be judged by my deeds, not by my words. So if you want to find out what I'm like, come do a seminar or call me or something. I'm not the best. I'm not the baddest. I'm not any of that stuff. I just love my art. Ed Parker taught me directly, so I have knowledge that's, I think, worthy of other people to partake. And if you don't want to, then don't show up.
Simple as that.
That's easy.
Well, this is Joe Rebelo here with Jeff Speakman for Martial Arts Today.
And now, a tournament and seminar calendar for September and October. On Sunday, September 19th, there'll be a Kubutan keychain and Filipino stick fighting seminar held at SNL Self-Defense at 1901 County Street in Dighton. For more information, contact Skip Ellis at 508-669-9049. The New Bedford YWCA is having its second benefit karate tournament on Sunday, September 26th at the YWCA with weapons divisions, forms, fighting, self-defense, and breaking. For more information, contact 999-3255 for more info. The Rhode Island Classic Karate Championships are coming to Warwick Veterans Memorial High School on October 10th. For more information, contact Michael Burton at 401-732-4242 or 738-7818. And that completes our calendar for seminars and tournaments for September into October. Keep training.
I like to take the techniques, and instead of teaching them as the gospel, if you will, like they're written in stone, and this is what you do for a right, left, hook, punch, jab, poke, gouge, rip, I like to take the techniques and use them as a teaching tool to explain the principles of Kempo. Because that's really what I think we have as Kempoists. We don't have a style of karate. We have a system of motion. So I look at Kempo as a circle instead of a straight line. So I hope to be able to expose that to you, to the highest state of the physical attainment of the art of Kempo, which is that third phase called formulation or spontaneity, where you actually react without thinking. You move faster than you can think. Someone does something to you, you turn around and move, and they're on the ground and you back off, and now you got to think of what you just did. Number one, good and hard, bang. Pretty good. Once again, good and hard, bang. And now what do we call that in Kempo? A negative orbit. That is an orbit that you throw your opponent into, which could potentially reorbit back and still strike one of your targets. That's called a negative orbit. We have positive orbits, which would be where you would throw me into an orbit where I can't come back to you. But in this case, you're actually promoting a spinning back knuckle. Now, back to block number 2. He does it correctly. Can I spin? Yes, but I can't borrow that energy. I have to now re-engage my mass, which should give him enough time to check my rotation factor. In the other case, he's literally throwing me in it, and the race is on. Can you come back faster than he can spin? Because you're throwing him in that orbit, and it's coming back. You better be quick. Now we're playing a game called action-reaction, where you're playing a game that says, your reaction will be faster than his or her reaction. And you never want to play that game. Never want to play that game. Opponents at Kempo say we train overkill. We say we train overskill. And that's what I'd rather do. I'd rather train you overskill. Doesn't mean it's going to work. Absolutely not. Any karate guy comes up and says, we're the best, and we're going to do that, and we're going to... That's when you walk right out that door. Anybody teaches you a seminar and says, oh, because I got 8 stripes, not 4, and, you know, walk right out that door. Because it's not about me. It's about you. It's not about me. When you leave here, I don't want you to say, Speakman was really great. I want you to walk out and say, Kempo's really great. And I liked how Speakman taught it. That's what I want. I don't want the guru thing and all the stripes and all that stuff that goes with it, because neither did Mr. Parker. All he wanted to do was impart his knowledge into you. And if I'm doing that correctly, you should be able to, by the end of the evening, be able to grasp the entirety of the concept of Kempo, of this beautiful system of motion we have. When one thing flows into the next and the next, and all insert compound, rip, tear, and it's unbelievable at the end. But look at me, and back up. Don't switch when you come up. Should be in a right neutral low. And move! Underneath, and back up, and adjust. Ready? Move! And back up. Now right here. Boom, and again. Boom, and again. Boom, and you're backing up. Going, whoa. Go ahead. Ready. Back up. Boom! Underneath one of those. Come up over the top. Boom! Over the top of that thing, hook around and catch him in the corner of the mandible, going this way to knock the jaw off the hinge. Okay? Excellent. So go inside or outside? I certainly doubt it. So what can you do? You can predetermine a category by the position of your opponent's body before they move. Before they even move. What does this tell you? Right? What does this tell you? What does this tell you? What does this tell you? See the categories? They help determine. I see a guy in tight who positions himself, and the hand comes up, and he's going like this. I'm going to the outside. One way or the other, I'm not going to go in the middle of this thing, because I'm going to lose the fight. If I see this, what does this tell you? Bunch of bad stuff. Probably the stuff's going straight. We could have a bunch of jabs before the right hand comes. Tells us he probably works on a linear advance, or his angles that he's used to working on are relative, you know, he doesn't work on the back angles because there's nobody back there and the ref doesn't fight. And the weight's forward on the legs. But what else does this tell you? Train. Right? Right? You're all right? It's the one that really is bad. That he knows how to take a hit. Yeah. That's the one that's bad news. Right? It's those people that really don't care. Those are the worst. And I know a lot of them. That's why I moved to California to study Kempo. Man, I found out in a hurry the kind of people that study Kempo. The history of American Kempo, I've met the guys that are there from day one. And I'm telling you, this is not an art that's steeped in some kind of religious doctrine or anything. These are some wackos. There's some bad, bad people that were leaders in gangs and doing bikers and doing all kinds of nasty stuff. And Mr. Parker said, let's go. And he trashed them all. And from that point on, they were his devoted students. And today they have lives and families because he showed them how to do it. But he won them over with his physical prowess, and then he taught them how to be human beings. And there's lots of them. Boy, there's lots of them. I'm glad they're my friends. And then from here I understand. So when you're here, you switch, you go this way.
I know.
See, I'm going ducking underneath and punching here. And then I'm unwinding. It's only a left punch. Left punch only. 1, 2. Now I'm in a zone of sanctuary. He could hit me, but he's got to reorient himself and now attack again. And long before that happens, pain's going to hit on him. So every time you move, you should be inflicting pain. So as I step off, I go down into that close kneel again, and in comes the punch. So I go back 1, 2, and here it is with the hit, right from here. The hand comes from point of origin, bang. Before that hand's even fully extended, more or less recoiled back, I've got a really heavy rib break happening. That knocks him back. From this position, my right hand circles out, and I come and I grab at about the elbow, and I anchor and I pull at a downward angle. Why do I want to pull him at a downward angle? Canceling his height, yeah. If I pull up, he can kick me in the groin with the rear leg, or wherever. That's called a line of entry. If I just pull down, that puts weight on his toes, and for that second he can't do it. So after you do the hit, and you do the outside grab down, now your weight's on your left leg, leave it there and do a roundhouse ball kick to the bladder and move him back.
Hi, this is Joe Rebelo with Martial Arts Today, and we're here with Jeff Speakman, and we've just finished off a seminar with over 60 black belts. And what I really see from the seminar is the fact that when they look at your films, they don't just see a punch or a kick here, they actually see the techniques of Kempo being demonstrated by you. How do you feel about interrelating Kempo into your movies?
Well, that's exactly what my commitment to Ed Parker was, to take his art to the world through film the way he always wanted it to go, but no one ever gave him the opportunity to do it. So that was what was really important about The Perfect Weapon, because he was on the set with me every day to help me choreograph all the fight scenes and work with the stuntmen, and et cetera, et cetera. And so it really was a movie that he kind of put his personal signature on. So now it's just my turn to just keep it going, movie after movie. So that's my job.
Well, there you have it. Welcome to Kempo, and this is Joe Rebelo for the Martial Arts Today.